Welcome.
शुरू हो गया माता जी.
So we have been discussing about the heart. That is a topic in the third chapter of the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us see the next verse. Which verse is it? Which verse?
18 माता जी.
18th verse. Yeah. So 17th verse, very important verse. Ayur harati vaipumsam. Ayur harati vaipumsam. Udyan astam cha. Yutyam astam cha yannasau. Tasyarte yat ksharonitaha tamashloka valkaya. Every day by the rising and the setting of the sun, it decreases the duration of life of everyone, except for those who are utilizing the time in discussing Krishna consciousness or about the Lord. Now, there are so many people who are leaving. It is just not to leave, like eat to leave or leave to eat. Or eat to leave, right? It's not leave to eat. You just not just leave to eat. So here, how many people are leaving? Tasya kim na jivanti, tasya kim na jivanti, dhrashta kim na shvasanti uta, na khadanti na me hanti, kim grame pashavo pare. Taravaha kim na jivanti. So the question is asked, whether trees are not living? Next. Bhrashta kim nah shvasanti. The bellows. The blacksmith, he has a bellow. That is also blowing. That is also seems to be living. Na shvasanti. Uttaha. Is that not breathing? Na khadanti, na medhanti. The animals also are eating. Medhanti means they are also discharging semen. Mehanti means they are also discharging semen. That means eating, mating, sleeping, defending. The animals are also doing. Ahar nidra bhay maithunam cha samanya hitat pashubir larana. Dharmo ekho aditko vishesho dharmi hina pashubir samana. Now, how they are wasting their time? Animals are wasting their time in eating. They are also eating. Trees are also breathing. Tree is also eating its own ahara. Everyone is eating. But our life is not just meant for eating, sleeping. The life of a human is a very precious treasure which has been given, the body, the precious body Krishna has given. And this precious body has to be used for self-realization, for discussing about Krishna that has been given here. If we don't do that, then Ayur Harati Astam. Ayur Harati Astam. Astam means sun. Sun removes every day, one day. We are heading towards where? Towards the death. But if we are utilizing time, then a devotee does not die, because a devotee will continue doing the same activity in the next life. Okay, Vrindavan Mataji will.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Taravah kim na jivanti, bhasra kim na shvasanti uta, na khadanti na mehanti, kim grame pashavo pare. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Perfect. The materialistic man of the modern age will argue that life, or part of it, is never meant for discussion of theosophical or theological arguments. Life is meant for the maximum duration of existence, for eating, drinking, sexual intercourse, making merry, and enjoying life. The modern man wants to live forever by the advancement of material science, and there are many foolish theories for prolonging life to the maximum duration. But the Srimad Bhagavatam affirms that life is not meant for the so-called economic development or advancement of materialistic science for the hedonistic philosophy of eating, mating, drinking, and merrymaking. Life is solely meant for tapasya, for purifying existence, so that one may enter into eternal life just after the end of the human form of life. The materialists want to prolong life as much as possible because they have no information of the next life. They want to get the maximum comforts in this present life because they think conclusively that there's no life after death. This ignorance about the eternity of the living being and the change of covering in the material world has played havoc in modernized man, havoc in the structure of modern human society. Consequently, there are many problems multiplied by various plans of modernized man. The plans for solving the problems of human society have only aggravated the troubles. Even if it is possible to prolong life more than 100 years, advancement of human civilization does not necessarily follow. The Bhagavatam says that certain trees live for hundreds and thousands of years. At Vrindavan, there is a tamarind tree. The place is known as Imlitala, which is said to have existed since the time of Lord Krishna. In the Calcutta Botanical Garden, there's a banyan tree said to be older than 500 years. And there are many such trees all over the world. Swami Shankaracharya lived only 32 years, and Lord Chaitanya lived 48 years. Does it mean that the prolonged lives of the above mentioned trees are more important than Shankara or Chaitanya? Prolonged life without spiritual value is not very important. One may doubt that trees have life because they do not breathe. But modern scientists like Bose have already proved there is life in plants. So breathing is no sign of actual life. The Bhagavatam says that the bellows of the blacksmith breathes very soundly, but that does not mean that the bellows has life. The materialist will argue that life in the tree and life in the man cannot be compared because the tree cannot enjoy life by eating palatable dishes or by enjoying sexual intercourse. In reply to this, the Bhagavatam asks whether other animals like the dogs and hogs living in the same village with human beings do not eat and enjoy sexual life. The specific interest of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to other animals means that persons who are simply engaged in planning a better type of animal life, consisting of eating, breathing, and mating, are also animals in the shape of human beings. A society of such polished animals cannot benefit suffering humanity, for an animal can easily harm another animal, but rarely do good. Hare Krishna.
Okay, next verse. Shvavid varahushtrakaraihi samsutah purusha pashuhu nayat karnapatho peto jatunamagadagраjaha. Shvavid varahushtrakaraihi samstutah purusha pashuhu nayat karnapatho peto jatunamagadagраjaha. So those who are like Purushaha, who are like animals, like dogs, like Vitvaraha, that means hogs, pigs, who eat stool, Pushtraha, camel, Kharai, asses. So the persons or men who are like these animals, what they do? They praise those people, Karnaha, Karnaha pataha upetaha jatu nama gadagraja. Na karna. They praise those people who have no desire to hear about Lord. That means they are praising unworthy activities of others. Gadagrajaha, Krishna, the deliverer of all evils. But these people have no ears. And there are people who are praising those people. That means both are animals. The one who is praising the activities of those who have no desire to hear about Lord, that person is also like a camel, like a dog, like a hog, like an asses. Now see, 4 animals have been spoken. Dog, aham mamaiti ajnanam. Hog, eating stool. Yes, sense gratification is like looking at one stool. Camel eats his own blood and relishes the blood, working hard and relishes the hard work, praising others' hard work, working so hard that he has no time for self-realization. Camel, asses, again donkeys, working too hard, and the master of the ass always shows a carrot. हम होंगे कामयाब एक दिन. So in this way, these asses, they work thinking that there's a hope of having a better life. Even if they have better life, they want more better life. That means there is more greed. So hawks, dogs, camels, and asses has been described. That these humans are compared to 4 animals. Okay. Ravindra Prabhu, please read the purport slowly. Don't just rush about. Read the purpose slowly and softly.
Okay, Mother. Hare Krishna, Mother. Shvavidvara Hostrakharehi Samsutah Purushah Pashuhu Na Yat Karna Pato Peto Yadrimama Gadagrajaha. Translation. Men who are like dogs, hawks, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evil. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The general mass of people, unless they are trained systematically for a higher standard of life, are no better than animals. And in this verse, they have particularly been put on the level of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Modern university education practically prepares one to acquire a doggish mentality, with which to accept the service of a great master. After finishing a so-called education, the so-called educated persons move like dogs from door to door with applications for some service, and mostly they are driven away formed of no vacancy. As dogs are negligible animals and serve the master faithfully for bits of bread, a man serves the master faithfully without sufficient reward. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of food stuff and who eat all sorts of rubbish are compared to hogs. Hogs are very much attached to eating stools. So stool is the kind of foodstuff for a particular type of animal. And even stones are eatable for a particular type of animal or bird. But the human being is not meant for eating everything and anything. He is meant to eat grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, sugar, etc. Animal food is not meant for the human being. For chewing solid food, the human being has a particular type of teeth meant for cutting fruits and vegetables. The human being is endowed with 2 canine teeth as a concession for persons who will eat animal food at any cost. It is known to everyone that one man's food is another man's poison. Human beings are expected to accept the remnant of food offered to Lord Krishna. The Lord accepts foodstuffs from the categories of leaves, flowers, fruit, etc. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. As prescribed by Vedic scriptures, no animal food is offered to the Lord. Therefore, a human being is meant to eat a particular type of food. We should not imitate the animals to derive the so-called vitamin values. Therefore, a person who has no discrimination in regard to eating is compared to a hog. The camel is a kind of animal that takes pleasure in eating corn. A person who wants to enjoy family life or the worldly life of so-called enjoyment is compared to the camel. Materialistic life is full of thought, and so one should live only by the prescribed method of Vedic regulation, just to make the best use of a bad bargain. Life in the material world is maintained by sucking one's own blood. The central point of attraction for material enjoyment is sex life. To enjoy sex life is to suck one's own blood, and there is not much more to be explained in this connection. The camel also sucks its own blood while chewing thorny twigs. The thorns the camel eats cuts the tongue of the camel, and so blood begins to flow within the camel's mouth. The thorn mixes with the fresh blood, creating a taste for the foolish camel, and so he enjoys the thorn eating business with false pleasure. Similarly, the great business magnates, industrialists who work very hard to earn money by different ways and questionable means eat the thorny results of their actions mixed with their own blood. Therefore, the Bhagavatam has situated these diseased fellows along with the camels. The ass is an animal who is celebrated as the greatest fool, even amongst the animals. The ass works very hard and carries burdens of the maximum weight without making a profit for himself. The ass is generally engaged by the washerman, whose social position is not very respectable. And the special qualification of the ass is that it is very much accustomed to being kicked by the opposite sex. The ass begs for sexual intercourse is kicked by the fair sex. Yet he still follows the female for such sexual pleasure. A henpecked man is compared therefore to the ass. The general mass of people work very hard, especially in the age of Kali. In this age, the human being is actually engaged in the work of an ass, carrying heavy burdens and driving thelas and rickshaws. The so-called advancement of human civilization has engaged a human being in the work of an ass. The laborers in great factories and workshops are also engaged in such burdensome work. And after working hard during the day, the poor laborer has to be again kicked by the fair sex, not only for sex enjoyment, but also for so many household affairs. So, Srimad Bhagavatam's categorization of the common man without any spiritual enlightenment into the society of dogs, hogs, camels, and asses is not at all an exaggeration. The leaders of such ignorant masses of people may feel very proud of being adored by such number of dogs and hogs, but that is not very flattering. The Bhagavatam openly declares that although a person may be a great leader of such dogs and hogs, disguised as men, if he has no taste for being enlightened in the science of Krishna, such a leader is also an animal and nothing more. May be designated as a powerful, strong animal or a big animal. But in the estimation of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is never given a place in the category of man on account of his atheistic temperament. Or, in other words, such godless leaders of dogs and hog-like men are bigger animals with the qualities of animals in greater proportion. Hare Krishna. I'll read
Very
that also.
clearly in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary it has been given. Animals are not told that you are working like a human. But humans are compared to animals. We say, hey, Gada. But you don't say any Gada, a human. They don't transgress their law of nature. Cow eats grass, it's universal. But man can eat anything. A lion eats meat. One jiva, jivo jivanti jivana. One for one jiva, other jiva is a ahara. But for a human, he can eat anything. So that is why human transgress the law of nature, but animals don't. It is said here, human life is meant for earning values. That's a purpose. This life is called arthadam, or it is only anartha. Arthadam, add value to the life. And what is the greatest value of life? To go back home, back to Godhead. Only that path can be known to a human because he has got enough intelligence to study the scriptures, hear the scriptures, understand the scriptures. One's selfishness must be aimed at the point of going to Godhead, back to Godhead. The ass does not know his self-interest. That is why he works hard. But he's working hard for whom? For others only. He works so hard. A person who works very hard for others only, forgetting his personal interests available in the human form of life, is compared to the ass. In the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, it is said, Asetim Chaturaschaiva Laksham Sattan Jiva Jatishu Brahmadbhi Purushai Prapyam Manushyam Janma Puryayat Tadapya Bhala La, what is that? Lalatam Tadapyabhalatam Jataha Tesham Atma Bhimaninam Varakanam Anashritya Govinda Charana Dvayam. The human life is so important that even the demigods, the higher planets, can sometimes aspire for being a human on this earth. Because in the human body, only one can go easily back to Godhead. In spite of having obtained such an important body, if one does not establish his lost eternal relationship with Govinda, Lord Krishna, is certainly a fool who has forgotten self-interest. The human form of material body is obtained by a gradual process of evolution to one body from another in the cycle of 84 lakh species. And the poor man, forgetting the importance of his own self-interest, involves himself in so many illusory engagements for uplifting the position of others as a leader of political emancipation and economic development. There's no harm in trying for political emancipation or economic development, but one should not forget the real aim of life. All such philanthropic activities must be dovetailed to returning back to Godhead. One who does not know this is compared to the ass who works only for others without their or his own welfare in mind. Very clearly, it has been said that working for others or any philanthropic activities is not a harm, but forgetting the goal of life, that makes him just work, and is compared to ass, compared to camel, compared to dogs, hogs. Okay, 20th verse. बिले बतरुक्रम विक्रान्ये न शृण्वतः कर्णपुटे नरस्य जिह्वासति दारुदुरिके वसूत न चोपगायत्युरुगायगाथाः बिले बतोरुक्रम विक्रमान्ये न शृण्वतः कर्णपुटे नरस्य जिह्वासति दारुदुरिके वसूत न चोपगायति उरुगाय गातः. Okay. Now the ears which are not used to hearing Krishna Katha, they are compared to the ears of the snake. And the tongue which is not used to chanting the holy name of the Lord, they are compared to the tongue of a frog. Bile bataha purukramaha. Now the comparison is with the snake hole. Holes of the snake hole. And bataha urukramaha vikramam ye na shunvataha. He has never heard about the activities of urukramaha. Lord's one of the name is Urukramaha, Trivikramaha, Urukramaha. Urukrama means one whose activities are marvelous. Urukramaha. Trivikramaha, one who has conquered all the three worlds. Trivikramaha, Urukramaha, Vikraman, prowess. Now here Vikraman, Urukramaha, the prowess of Urukramaha. Shulvataha, na Shulvataha, he has never heard. So, Karnapute, his ear holes are like the snake holes. Acharya's holes. Narasya jiva, the tongue of a human. Asati durdu, daradurikeva, daradurika. Daradurika means frog. It's exactly like frog. Now here, what was Sutta Goswami? Nacha. 1 minute. From where Sutta Goswami has come? Sutta Goswami telling to Shaunakadi Rishi, let us go back a little. Sukadeva Goswami is speaking all these verses. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasa, was full of knowledge. No. So these verses are spoken by learned Sutta Goswami. Yes, Shaunakadi Rishi are speaking this to Sutta Goswami. That is why Sutta Goswami has entered. So they are saying, they're describing the glories of Parikshit Maharaj. They're describing the glories of Sukadeva Goswami. And they want to know what more questions Parikshit Maharaj is asking. That is how we started. That's how the chapter starts. We want to know more. So the ears which is not eager to hear about Lord, they are compared to the snake holes. The tongue which is not eager to chant Krishna's glories, they are compared to Daradurikaha, the tongue of frogs. Jiva Daradurikaha, because the frog just croaks and invites a snake. The presence of the frog is known to the snake by its croaking, or chupchap it can be. Just because croaking, making sound, invites death. The same way, uselessly talking invites only death. Okay. Death here refers to destruction of one's activities. Gyandeep Prabhu, please read.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम बिले बतोर विक्रम विक्रमानये न शृण्वता कर्णपुटे नरस्य जिह्वा सती दार दुरिकेव सूता न चोप गाये तु गाय गाथा. Translation. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the wrongly songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. Purpose Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs or part of the body. It is the transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. One can engage in devotional service when the senses of the body are purified in relation with the Lord, and one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. As such, the senses and the action of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they are implied only in sense gratification. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification but in the service of the Lord in toto. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor who is part and parcel of the Lord also has the same senses. Service to the Lord is completely purified use of senses as described in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord imparted instruction with full senses and Arjuna received them with full senses, and thus there was a perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charges from the master to the disciple. As falsely claimed by some propaganda mongers, everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teaching of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses, so that one can logically understand the great mission. In the impure state of living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. If the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about him from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, certainly the holes of the ear will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be preached all over the world very loudly. That is the duty of pure devotee who has actually heard about them from the perfect sources. Many want to speak something to others, but because they are not trained to speak on the subject matter of Vedic wisdom, they are all speaking nonsense. And people are receiving them with no sense. There are hundreds and thousands of sources for distributing mundane news of the world, and people of the world are also receiving it. Similarly, the people of the world should be taught to hear the transcendental topics of the Lord, and the devotee of the Lord must speak loudly so that they can hear. The frogs loudly croak with the result that they invite the snakes to eat them. The human tongue is especially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking like frogs. The word asati used in this verse is also significant. Asati means a woman who has become a prostitute. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymn will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Now, Ambarish Maharaj says if you utilize all these senses, then one becomes matparaha devotee. Mad bhakti prabhavena sarvaindriya vijaya purvika swatma drishti sulabheti bhava. Or what? Or remembering. Baldev Dyabhushan's commentary on Matpara devotee, 2nd chapter, Bhagavad Gita. So what is Matpara devotee? One who is utilizing his senses in Krishna service. Mat Bhakti Prabhavena, only by Bhakti. Sarva Indriya Vijay Purvika, it is easy to conquer the senses. Swatma Drishti Sulabheti Bhava. Then he understands his position, constitutional position. Swatma Drishti, Swatma Drishti Sulabheti Bhava. And it becomes easy. Then that person is Matpara devotee. And exactly opposite to it is wasting one's senses. So then the comparison is given. So the head, which has to bow down before Lord, but it's not bowing down, then how it is compared to, let us see. Bharaha param patta kirita jushtam apyuttamangam nanamen mukundam shavo karau no kurute saparya harir lasat kanchana kankano va bhara param patta kirita jushtam apyuttamangam nanamen mukundam shavo karau no kurute saparya hare rasat kanchana kankanau va bhara, a great burden. Which head is a great burden, or the upper portion of the head is becoming a burden now? When Param Patta Kirita has worn turban, which is made of heavy silk, Jushtam, dressed very nicely, Api Uttamangam, that means he has worn the silk turban, Nanameta Mukundam, but not bowing down before Lord, and the same head becomes the burden. If not bowed down, it is just a heavy burden. Now just see, what is the burden of the earth? When a person is not bowing down before Lord. So if he is bowing down before Lord, then he is not a burden. Mother Earth cried before Krishna that now I feel that burden because there are demons. And these demons never bow down before Lord. That is why it is not having a big population is a burden. Having useless population is a burden. If mother has 100 children also, then she doesn't feel burden if they are Krishna conscious. But if only one child is there, not Krishna conscious, then that one child is a burden on the family. So it is not the population which is a burden. It is the training of the population that matters. Now, Shavas, Karanano, now, and the hands, though decorated with glittering black bangles, if they are not engaged in the service of the Lord, then they are like those of a dead man. In my childhood, I used to ask my mother, Mommy, this person is dead, that person is dead. I feel everybody are dead. So my mother thought that she's become mad. So because wherever she used to say, I say that this dead body is moving, that dead body is moving. She took me to the doctor. I told this person is also dead man. Dead man. Everybody, I feel all are dead people. Till I came to ISKCON, I don't know. I used to feel everybody is dead. Only I saw life in the classes. When I first heard the classes, then I asked my Shiksha Guru, why I feel that? Because this question was there. Why I feel that? In many marriage ceremonies or anywhere, I feel everybody are just dead bodies. They are decorated themselves so nicely. Then there was a verse which my Shiksha Guru spoke. There's a verse from Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Bhakti hinasya jati shastra japatapa apranasya dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. If there is no bhakti, Bhagavad Bhakti hinasya, there is no bhakti, jati, shastra, japa, tapa, a person may do anything. He may study Vedas, he may do japa, he may do tapa, but he has no love for Krishna. Then apranasya dehasya. His body is only a moving dead body. Mandanam Lokaranjanam, just decorating that moving dead body. Generally, you go to any marriage functions and also they'll show the bangles, everything, oh, so many bangles. But the hands are not serving Krishna. Then what is the use of decorating the hands, which is not serving Krishna? It is like decorating a dead body. Simple. Life force is there only when a person is connected to Krishna. Then you can say, yes, this is a living body. Or it is only a dead body. Because the soul has identified itself with matter. Anyhow, matter is dead. So, Paropi Manute Anartham, though Parashakti of Krishna, soul is Parashakti of Krishna, because he has identified with the matter, the soul also seems to be dead. The soul also seems to be dead, isn't it? When you identify yourself, like I identify myself with a cup and saucer, then I should be called as cup saucer. But if I identify myself with my original position, then I am not a dead body. I am a living body. The body is also living because utilizing the body in Krishna's service. So there is a life force. You see, on Sundays, everybody sleeps. Why? Because whole 6 days they are working. They have identified themselves with the workplace. They have identified themselves with some position. On Sundays, everything is withdrawn. The offices are closed. Then the person is dead. He's just sleeping on the bed. But if you see a devotee, he is fully active on Sundays. Saturday, Sundays, no time. If I keep classes, Vrindavan Leela Mataji has no time. Yes, because super active. She has to go classes every devotee is some way or the other. Vyasa Chaturthi Prabhu morning, yes, he has to go to the temple, serve. Every devotee is active in their own ways. Sundays are full-fledged, devotee is active. On the contrary, if you see a materialistic person, because everything is withdrawn, his identification with the office, the positions, everything is withdrawn, then he just lies idle. He has no work. He is almost dead. Sleep is what? Nothing but a dead body just breathing. But for a devotee, even the sleep is not dead. Why? Because he sleeps to take rest for some time to be active next day. The devotees are very active in the morning. Chaitanya Bhagavat class, I have to sing, I have to learn Choragarashtakam. If you ask Raksha Mataji, she goes on learning many songs, many beautiful songs written by the acharyas. Yes, everybody is active in their own ways in Krishna consciousness. Okay. So 21st verse. Venkatesh Avatar Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna. Dandatna. Bharah parah patta kiritajustam apyuttamangam na name namukundam shavo karo na kurute saparya harele satkanchana kankano va. Translation. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with the silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hand, though decorated with the glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead Hari. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As stated here before, there are three kinds of devotees of the Lord. The first class devotee does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of the Lord. But the second class devotee makes distinction between the devotee and the non-devotee. The second class devotee are therefore meant for preaching work, and as referred to in the above verse, they must loudly preach the glories of the Lord. The second class devotees accept. The second class devotee accept disciple from the section of the third class devotee or non-devotees. Sometimes the first class devotee also came down to the category of the second class devotee for preaching work. But the common man who is expected to become the Least a third-class devotee is advised herein to visit the temple of the Lord and bow down before the deity, even though he may be a very rich man or even a king with a silk turban or crown. The Lord is the Lord of everyone, including the great king and emperors. And the men who are rich in the estimation of the mundane people must therefore make it point to visit the temple of Lord Sri Krishna and regularly bow down before the deity. The Lord in the temple in the worshipable form is never to be considered to be made of stone or wood. For the Lord in his arch incarnation as the deity in the temple shows the immense favor to the fallen souls by his auspicious presence. So by the hearing the process mentioned here before, this realization of presence of the Lord in the temple is made possible. As such, the first process is the routine work of devotional service, hearing. Hearing is the essential point. Hearing by all the classes of devotees from the authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is essential. The common man who is puffed up with his material position and does not bow down before the deity of the Lord in the temple, or who defies a temple worship without any knowledge of the science, must know that so-called turban or crown will only be succeed in the further drowning him in the water of ocean of material existence. The drowning man with the heavy weight on his head is sure to go down more swiftly than those who have no heavy weight. A foolish puff-up man defies the science of God and says that the God has no meaning for him. But when he is in the grip of the God's law and is caught by some disease like the cerebral thromb- thrombosis, the godless man sinks into the ocean of the science by the weight of the material acquisition. The advancement of material science without the God consciousness is a heavy load on the head of the human society. And so one must take the heed of this great warning. The common man, if he has no time to worship the Lord, may at least engage his hands for a few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. Maharaj Prataprudra, the greatly powerful king of Orissa, was always very busy with the heavy state responsibilities. Yet he made to a point to sweep the temple of Lord Jagannath at Puri once a year during the festival of the Lord. The idea is that however important a man one may be, he must accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. This God consciousness will help a man even in the material prosperity. Maharaj Pratapudra's subordination before the Lord Jagannath made him a powerful king. So much so that even the great Pathan in his time could not enter into the Orissa on account of the powerful Maharaj Prataprudra. And at last, Maharaj Prataprudra was graced by the Lord Sri Chaitanya on the very grounds of his acceptance of subordination to the Lord of the universe. So even though a rich man wife has glittering bangles made of gold on her hand, she must engage herself in rendering service to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
I did not unmute myself. Okay. Generally, people think, oh, gold is Kali. No, gold is not Kali. Our consciousness. By wearing gold, it is not that you are having Kalivas. No. If your hands are not utilized in service of Krishna, then there is Kalivas. Now here, the most compassionate form of Krishna is Archa Vigraha. We have Para, Vyuha, Avatara, Paramatma, Archa Vigraha. They accept the services. That is why they are also known as Adhokshaja. Lord is known as Adhokshaja. Though he is transcendental to the three modes of material nature, but he accepts the services of a human who is having a material body. though Lord is above matter, but he's accepting the services from the human body, isn't it? From the body which is made up of matter. That is how the matter becomes transcendental, by just serving Krishna. Okay, 22nd verse. If you want, I can finish all the whole portion, 22, 23, 24, 25. Or you want them to be done tomorrow, I don't mind. What you all feel? Well, in half an hour, we can finish it off.
We have
Yes,
only
Madam.
3 verses, Mataji.
Yeah,
We-
just 3 verses, 22, 23, 24, 25, 5 verses, 4 verses.
Yes.
Baraha ite, 4 verses, na?
Yes, Mataji. Including
Baraha
22.
ite te nayane naranam lingani vishnurna nirikshate te nirikshato te padavunam do dhrumajanma bhajau kshetrani kshetrani nanu brajato hariryo Baraha ite te nayane naranam lingani vishnurna nirikshato ye pado nunam to drumajanma bhajau kshetrani nanu brajato hariryo. So beautiful verses. Feel like just eating the verses, isn't it? Swallowing the verses, digesting the verses. Every word is so beautiful. Baraha ite. Baraha ite means you have this word baraha. Alola chandra kala sadvanamala vamshi ratnam gadam barahitam ratnam gadam. Tell the verse.
Gadam pranayake likala vilasam shyamam tribhangam
Lalitam.
prakasham
So baraha there. What is it? Baraha means peacock. Baraha ite nayane naranam. Those eyes which are not interested in seeing Krishna, they are referred to the plumes of a peacock. Peacock has plumes, looks like eyes, isn't it? See the acharyas, what? The eyes, naranam, lingani, Vishnuho, na niriksha. He's not interested in seeing the form of Vishnu. Okay, then his eyes is like the plume of a peacock. Then, Pado Nulanto Drumajanma Bhajo, the legs are not interested. In Kshetraha na Anuvrajataha, he doesn't want to go to any Kshetras. Okay, his legs are compared to the trunk of a tree, which cannot move. Is compared to the trunk of it, born as a tree. Because the trees cannot move. And you may say this person is moving. Yes, this person is moving to all useless places except to the temple. Okay. Very beautifully, every word has been given. The most important point is to look at Krishna, but it does not need a gross eyes. Yes, gross eyes are needed for a sadhaka. Then only with the gross eyes he can look at the form of Lord. At an advanced stage, like Bilvamangal Thakur, he plucked both of his eyes. But he could write wonderful Krishna Karanamritam. He could see all the pastimes of Krishna because he went to a Chintamani, who was a prostitute. Then he looked at his own guru's wife. So then he thought, what is the use of these eyes? Let me pluck it out. But then he went to Vrindavan. The Lord showed his beautiful leelas. So at advanced stage, the devotee does not need an eye to look at Lord because he already looks Lord with his subtle eyes, the eye within the mind. When Puratalvar, Puresha was asked by Ramanujacharya, what boon you want? Can I give you eyes back? Should I give your eyes back? He said, you give me the vision to such an extent that I can look at Lord and yourself. I don't want much more bigger vision. So in this way, the devotee like Surdas, he used to sing and used to glorify the beautiful Shingar darshan of Lord. So advanced devotees or pure devotees, they don't require any gross senses to serve Lord because their subtle senses Their senses are so purified that their spiritual body works at every time. Even though they may be situated in the material body, with their spiritual body, they are always functioning. Okay. Bindu Mataji, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Barhayite te nayanena rana lingani vishnurna nirikshato ye padonar padonranam to druma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareriyo. Translation: the eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of a peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. Purport: especially for the householder devotees, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended. As far as possible, every householder, by the direction of the spiritual master, must install the deity of Vishnu, forms like Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, or Sri Rama, especially, or any other form of the Lord like Narsimha, Varaha, Gaur Nitai, Matsya, Kurma, Shaligram, Shila, and many other forms of Vishnu like Trivikrama, Keshava, Achyuta, Vasudeva, Narayana, and Damodara, as recommended in the Vaishnav Tantras or Puranas. And one's family should worship strictly following the directions and regulations of Archana Vidhi. Any member of the family who is above 12 years of age should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord, beginning from morning 4 a.m. till night 10 p.m. by performing Mangala Artika, Niranjana Archana, Puja, Kirtana, Shringara, Bhoga, Vaikali, Sandhya Artika, Patha, Bhoga at night, Shayanartika, etc. Engagement in such worship of the
Prabhupada says
deity.
from morning 4 o'clock to night 10 o'clock, be engaged in the service of Lord. That can be in the temple, that can be in the house also. And then you say, do not go to office, just go to office, bring money, use it in Krishna service, then it becomes Lakshmi. Okay, read.
Engagement in such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master will greatly help the householders to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in spiritual knowledge. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is theoretical, whereas the Archana process is practical. Spiritual knowledge must be developed by a combination of theoretical and practical knowledge, and that is the guaranteed way for attainment of spiritual perfection. The training of devotional service for a neophyte devotee completely depends on the expert spiritual master who knows how to lead his disciple to make gradual progress towards the path back home, back to Godhead. One should not become a pseudo spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures. One must be an expert spiritual master to deliver the disciple from the clutches of impending death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has defined the bona fide qualities of a spiritual master, and one of the verses in that description reads, Shri Vigraradhana Nityanana Shringaratan Mandira Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktamsha Nikunjoyopi Vande Guru Shri Charnarvindam. Shri Vigra is the archa or suitable worshipable form of the Lord, and the disciple should be engaged in worshipping the deity regularly by Shringara, by proper decoration and dressing, as also by Mandira Marjana, the matter of cleansing the temple. The spiritual master teaches the neophyte devotee all these kindly and personally to help him gradually in the realization of the transcendental name, quality, form, etc. of the Lord. Only attention engaged in the service of the Lord, especially in dressing and decorating the temple, accompanied by musical kirtan and spiritual instructions from scriptures, can save the common man from the hellish cinema attractions and rubbish sex songs broadcast everywhere by radios. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, he should go to another's temple where all the above performances are regularly executed. Visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well dressed in a well decorated, sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. People should visit holy places like Vrindavan, where such temples and worship of the deity are specifically maintained. Formerly, all rich men worship of Formerly, all rich men, like kings and rich merchants, constructed such temples under the direction of expert devotees of the Lord, like the six Goswamis, and it is the duty of the common man to take advantage of these temples and festivals observed in the holy places of pilgrimage by following in the footsteps of the great devotees Anuvraja. One should not visit all these sanctified pilgrimage places and temples with sightseeing in mind, but one must go to such temples and sanctified places immortalized by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and be guided by proper men who know the signs. This is called Anuvraja. Anu means to follow. It is therefore best to follow the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, even in visiting temples and the holy places of pilgrimage. One who does not move in that way is as good as a standing tree, condemned by the Lord not to move. The moving tendency of the human being is misused by visiting places for sightseeing. The best purpose of such traveling tendencies could be fulfilled by visiting the holy places established by great acharyas and thereby not being misled by the atheist propaganda of money-making men who have no knowledge of spiritual matters. Hare Krishna Mataji.
So the eyes which does not see the form of the Lord, they are compared to the peacock feather. Those persons whose eyes do not see the path of deliverance for the self fall into the thorn field of samsara. The feet of men who do not go to the holy places are as born as trees. They are similar to the bases of trees cut by the axis of Yamadutas. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes. So very clearly it has been said, Anu means following the footprints of our acharyas. One has to visit the holy places. Then, and also hear from there. Hear about Krishna Katha over there. And if just going, it is just like going and doing some sightseeing. No. Holy places are meant to learn more about the activities of Lord and for self-progress also in devotional service. Jivan chavo Bhagvatang Hrirenum Jivan chavo Bhagvatang Hrirenum Najatu Martyo Bhilaveta Yastu Shri Vishnu Padya Manujastulasya Shavasan Swasanchavo Yastu Naveda Bandham Naveda Kandam Gandham Jivan chavo Bhagvatang Hrirenum न जातु मर्त्योऽभिलभेत यस्तु श्रीविष्णुपद्या मनुजस्तुलस्या श्वसन् स्वसन् स्वसन् श्वसन् छवो यस्तु न वेदगन्धम् जीवन् छवो भागवताङ्घ्रिरेणुं न जातु मर्त्योऽभिलभेत यस्तु श्रीविष्णुपद्या मनुजस्तुलस्या श्वसन् छवो यस्तु न वेदगन्धम्. Now Jivan living Shwasaha Bhagavata Angri na Jatu Martya is not interested in taking Abhilabheta, particularly receiving the Labha, Yaha tu Sri Vishnu Padyaha, taking the dust of the feet of the pure devotee. Bhagavata Angri Renum is not interested in taking the dust of the pure devotee. Then he is actually living in a dead body. The person who has not any time received the dust of the feet of the pure devotee, Lord's pure devotee upon his head, is certainly a dead body. Next is given Tulasyaha Shwasanam Shavaha Na Gandham. A person who has never experienced in taking the aroma of the tulasi leaf from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. That is why when you take out tulasi from the time of Shayan, you have to take the gandham and also you can honor. If you don't do that, then it is like living in a dead body. You see, 4 Kumaras, they just got the aroma of tulasi. That is how, though they were interested in Brahman aspect of Lord, they became pure devotees just by taking the aroma of tulasi. That is why tulasi worship is very important for every devotee. In house, tulasi worship should be done. Very important worship. Because Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Padma Puran, in Padma Puran, Lord Shiva says, Aradhananam api sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam param. Tasmat parataram devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Among all the Aradhana, Vishnu Aradhana is the topmost. Beyond even Vishnu Aradhana, Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Worshipping Tulasi is more advanced than worshipping Lord, or more higher, you can say more higher than worshipping Lord. Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Yet Tadiya Vastu is not only Tulasi, pure devotees of Lord. You worship the pure devotees of Lord, Krishna says, oh, that reaches to me very fast. In Padma Puran again Krishna says, somebody is my devotee, is not my devotee. Somebody is devotee of my devotee, then he is my devotee in true sense. Okay. So, Vrindavan Lila Mataji, you read.
Hare Krishna. Jivan chavo bhagvatangri renum na jatu matya abhilabheta yastu Shri Vishnu padya manujastu lasaya shwasan chavo yastu na veda gandham. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the breathing dead body is a ghost. When a man dies, he is called dead. But when he again appears in a subtle form, not visible to our present vision, and yet acts, such a dead body is called a ghost. Ghosts are always very bad elements, always creating a fearful situation for others. Similarly, the ghost-like non-devotees who have no respect for the pure devotees, nor for the Vishnu deity in the temples, create a fearful situation for the devotees at all times. The Lord never accepts any offering by such impure ghosts. There's a common saying that one should first love the dog of the beloved before one shows any loving sentiments for the beloved. The stage of pure devotion is attained by sincerely serving a pure devotee of the Lord. The first condition of devotional service to the Lord is therefore to be a servant of a pure devotee. And this condition is fulfilled by the statement, reception of the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who has also served another pure devotee. That is a way of pure disciplic succession or devotional parampara. Maharaj Rahugana inquired from the great saint Jadabharat as to how he had attained such a liberated stage of a Paramhamsa. And in answer, the great saint replied as follows. Bhagavatam, Canto 5, 12th chapter and 12th verse. Rahu ganaitat tapasa nayati na chejyaja nirvapanad grihadva na chandan sanaiva jalagni suryai vina mahatpada rajo abhishekam. O King Rahugana, the perfectional stage of devotional service or the Parahamsa stage of life cannot be attained unless one is blessed by the dust of the feet of great devotees. It is never attained by tapasya or austerity. The Vedic worshipping process, acceptance of the renounced order of life, the discharge of the duties of a household life, the chanting of the Vedic hymns, or the performance of penances in the hot sun, within cold water, or before the blazing fire. In other words, Lord Sri Krishna is the property of his pure, unconditional devotees. And as such, only the devotees can deliver Krishna to another devotee. Krishna is never obtainable directly. Lord Chaitanya therefore designated himself as Gopi Bhratu Padakamaleora Dasa Dasa Anudasaha, or the most obedient servant of the servants of the Lord, who maintained the Gopi damsels at Vrindavan. A pure devotee therefore never approaches the Lord directly, but tries to please the servant of the Lord's servants. And thus the Lord becomes pleased, and only then can the devotee relish the taste of the tulsi leaves stuck to his lotus feet. In the Brahm Samhita, it is said that the Lord is never to be found by becoming a great scholar of the Vedic literatures, but he is very easily approachable through his pure devotee. In Vrindavan, all the pure devotees pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. Srimati Radharani is a tender-hearted feminine counterpart of the Supreme Whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Therefore, the mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once she recommends such a devotee to Lord Krishna, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. The conclusion is therefore that one should be more serious about seeking the mercy of the devotee than that of the Lord directly. And by once doing so, by the goodwill of the devotee, the natural attraction for the service of the Lord will be revived. Hare Krishna.
So the whole thing now, one part was described. Ears which are not hearing, it's like the snake hole. The eyes which are not seeing is like a plume of a peacock. Now whole body is only spoken. The body which is not taking the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees, they are like the dead bodies. The whole thing has been given. The body which is not eager to take the nose which is not eager to take the smell of tulasi, they are compared to a dead body again, a breathing corpse. And here it is said, Naham Vipro na Chanarapatir, Napi Vaishyo na Shodro, Naham Varni na Chakrapatir, Navanasto Etirva, Kintu Prodya Nikila Paramananda Purna Mutabde Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Das Dasa Anudasa. This is the shloka you have to chant while blowing the Shankha within your mind. Because who am I? I am not this. I am not from any varna. I am not from any ashrama. I am just servant of the servants of the servants of the Supreme Lord. Okay, 24th verse. Tadashmasaram hridayam yatedam batedam. Tadashmasaram hridayam batedam yadghrayamanir harinamadheyai na vikriyetatha yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha tadashmasaram hridayam batedam yadghrayamanir harinamadheyai na vikriyethat yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha tadashmasaram hridayam. The heart is steel framed. Bataidam yad griyamanahi harinama dheyai. Now, the heart is compared to a steel frame to those people who, in spite of chanting, they're chanting, but in spite of chanting, vikriyetaha yatha yada vikaraha netre jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha. Still, there is no change when ecstasy takes place. Does not change. The heart does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes, hair stand on the end. That means ecstatic symptoms are not happening. He's just chanting for the sake of chanting. There's no ecstatic symptoms. There is no bhava. Really, chanting should come to the platform of bhava. Nayanam galadashru dharaya. So Nayanam galadashru dharaya. Gadgad should happen. Gadgad and all should happen. Nayanam galadashru dharaya. But if it doesn't happen, when it is going to happen? Kada? The question is asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kada? So this is not happening, then the heart is like a steel frame. That means the heart is not melted. Still the heart is not melted. Because Cheto Darpada Marjanam, still the Cheto Darpada Marjanam has not happened fully. Still the anarthas are there. That is why it is like a steel frame. Still that Vadanam Gadgad Udyagira, that is also not happening. Vadanam, hairs are not standing on the erect. So chanting is done just for the namesake. Still the bhava stage has not reached. So those heart is compared to a steel frame. Okay. Ravindra Prabhu, please read.
Very good.
Big purport. Prabhupada has written a very big purport on this.
We
The
should
heart, steel framed heart. That means the heart which is not soft. Okay.
purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We should note with profit that in the first 3 chapters of the second canto, a gradual process of development of devotional service is being presented. In the first chapter, the first step in devotional service for God consciousness by the process of hearing and chanting has been stressed, and a gross conception of the personality of Godhead in its universal form for the beginners is recommended. By such a gross conception of God to the material manifestation of his energy, one is enabled to spiritualize the mind and the senses and gradually concentrate his mind upon Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, who is present as the super soul in every heart and everywhere and in every atom of the material universe. The system of Pancha Upasana, recommending 5 mental attitudes for the common man, is also enacted for this purpose, namely gradual development, worship of the superior that may be in the form of fire, electricity, the sun, the mass of living beings, Lord Shiva, and at last the impersonal super soul, the partial representation of Lord Vishnu. They are all nicely described in the second chapter, but in the third chapter, further development is prescribed after one has actually reached the stage of Vishnu worship or pure devotional service. The mature stage of Vishnu worship is suggested herein in relation to the change of heart. The whole process of spiritual culture is aimed at changing the heart of the living being in the matter of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord as subordinate servant, which is his eternal constitutional position. So with the progress of devotional service, the reaction of change in the heart is exhibited by gradual detachment from the sense of material enjoyment by a false sense of lording it over the world, and an increase in the attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. Vidhi Bhakti, or regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body, namely the eyes, ears, nose, hands, and legs, as already explained herein before, is now stressed herein in relation to the mind, which is the impetus for all activities of the limbs of the Lord. It is expected by all means that by discharging regulated devotional service, one must manifest the change of heart. If there is no such change, then the heart must be considered steel frame, for it is not melted even when there is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. You must always remember that hearing and chanting are the basic principles of discharging the devotional duty. And if they are properly performed, there will follow the reactional ecstasy with signs of tears in the eyes and standing of the hairs of the body. These are natural consequences and are the preliminary symptoms of the bhava stage, which occurs before one reaches the perfectional stage of prema, love of God. If the reaction does not take place even after continuous hearing and chanting of the holy name of Lord, it may be considered that it is due to offenses only. This is the opinion of the Sandarbha. In the beginning of chanting all of the holy name of the Lord, if the devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 kinds of offenses at the feet of the holy name, certainly the reaction of feelings of separation will not be visible but tears in the eyes and standing of the hair of the head. The Bhava stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, namely inertness, respiration, standing of hairs on end, failing in the voice, trembling, paleness of the body, tears in the eyes, and finally trance. The Nectar of Devotion, a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains those symptoms and vividly describes other transcendental developments, both in steady and accelerating manifestations. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhav displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. Not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treated them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by the mundane devotees known as prakata sahajya, but the pseudo symptoms are at once detected when one sees the pseudo devotee addicted to so many forbidden things. Even though decorated with the signs of a devotee, a person addicted to smoking, drinking, or illegitimate sex with women cannot have all the above mentioned ecstatic symptoms. But it is seen that sometimes these symptoms are willfully imitated. And for this reason, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. They are sometimes even affected by the reflection of such transcendental symptoms. Yet, if they still do not give up the forbidden habits, then they are hopeless cases for transcendental realization. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Srila Ramanand Raya of Kavaur on the bank of Godavari, the Lord developed all these symptoms. But because of the presence of some non-devoting brahmanas who were attendants of the Raya, the Lord suppressed these symptoms. But sometimes they are not visible even in the body of the first-class devotee for certain circumstantial reasons. Therefore, real steady bhav is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desire, shanti, utilization of every movement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, of vyartha kalatvam, eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly, nam gane sada ruchi, attraction for living in the land of the Lord, priti sad vasati sthale, complete detachment from material happiness, virakti, and pridelessness, manashunyata, one who has developed all these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the bhav state as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee. The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord. And the result of such realization is reflected in the cessation of all material desires, as mentioned above. The neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional services, are invariably envious, so much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulation without following the acharyas. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental taste of the holy name. Therefore, the show of tears in the eyes, trembling, respiration, or unconsciousness, etc., is condemned. They can, however, get in touch with the pure devotee of the Lord and rectify their bad habits. Otherwise, they shall continue to be stone-hearted and unfit for any treatment. A complete progressive march on the return path back to Godhead will depend on the instructions of the revealed scriptures directed by a realized devotee.
So very clearly it has been said, if the heart is not melting, there are no ecstatic symptoms. Yes, at the stage of sadhakas, many ecstatic symptoms may not come, but at least some tears come. But that tears is asthai. It is asthai bhav. It's not sthai bhav. But heart should melt. One has to aspire to come to the stage of bhava. It's not just I'll be a just sadhaka all the time. No. I have to reach to the level of nishtha. And the level of nishtha comes complete faith in the process. Then Krishna's mercy bestows. Ruchi, asakti, bhava, prema is Krishna's mercy. But one should have that complete faith. Yes, this is the only hope for me. There is no other hope. This is the only path. There is no other path. This is the only way to go back home, back to God. That is my real home. Wherever I am, that is only a temporary house. But my real home is my Krishna's abode. So how to reach there? And even if I reach there, if Krishna wants me to go somewhere else, to go and preach or do some activities, yes, you should be ready. Ahai mama janmani, janmanishware. Suppose our portion is not getting over. The next life, we can continue with the process. Isn't it? Okay, last verse. Last verse for this term. Yatha videhi anga manonukulam prabhashase bhagavata pradhana yadaha vayyasakhiratma vidya visharado nrupatim sudha sadhu prushtah athabhideyangamanukulam prabhashase bhagavata pradhana yadaha vayyasikiratma vidya visharado nrupatim sadhu prushtah atha abhidehi anga. O Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is one of the name is Anga. O Anga, please explain. Mana anukulam prabhashase. You speak so wonderfully. And it is very pleasing to our mentality. Bhagavata, you are a great devotee of Lord. Pradhana, a chief devotee of Lord. Or you can say, whatever has been spoken by the great devotee, that is Vaiyasakir, Sukadeva Goswami, Atma Vidyaha, the transcendental knowledge, Visharada, he is very expert in the transcendental knowledge, Nripatim, he spoke this knowledge to whom? Parikshit Maharaj. So, O Sutta Goswami, your words are very pleasing. Please, therefore, explain this to us. The same transcendental knowledge which was given to Parikshit Maharaj by Sukadeva Goswami. He is very expert. So in this way, we want to hear from you. Raksha Mataji, read. Last
Hare Krishna
verse.
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Shloka 25. Athabhidehi anga manonukulam prabhasaye bhagavata pradhanah yadaha vayyasakhiratma vidya visharado nrupatim sadhu prushtah. Translation. O Sutta Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Sukadeva Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Maharaja Parikshit upon being asked. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai ho. Knowledge explained by the previous Acharya like Sukadeva Goswami and followed by the next like Sutta Goswami is always powerful transcendental knowledge, and it is therefore penetrating and useful to all submissive students. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second canto, third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Okay. Any questions you can ask?
May I?
Yeah.
Mataji, there are two questions. First is in the last verse we see two words, Mataji, how they are referring to Shukadev Goswami, like Vayasaki. What does it exactly mean? That
Vaiyasaki, the son of Vyasa, he
Acha,
spoke to
that
the
way.
king.
It means son of Vyasadeva. And then Anga Mataji, Anga generally
Anga,
been
Suta Goswami. Because Anga refers to even Karna also is known as Anga. Yes, Anga. Because they come from particular community. Suta is a community.
Oh.
Weavers community.
And the second question is, Mataji, here in this chapter we see that in the beginning we see Shukdev Goswami ji is speaking. And then from 13th verse onwards, I think Shanak Rishi, they also start speaking. And it continues till the end of the chapter. I'm just imagining how it will be. Like they are there to hear. And then
They are there to hear the
most of the
conversation
verses,
between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj.
Yes.
That is related by Suta Goswami. They want to hear more.
But they
That
are
is
only
how they
going
want.
on speaking so many verses, Mataji.
Yeah.
Means there are definitely very beautiful verses, but I was just
Yeah, because now Suta Goswami has given all the answers which Sukadeva Goswami was answering to Parikshit Maharaj. Practically, Parikshit Maharaj has covered everything. He has asked many questions, and Sukadeva Goswami has also covered everything. So now they want to express, you speak more. Because Suta Goswami can say, that is over now, what to speak more? We want to hear, because if the body does not hear, that is like the body, if the ears are not hearing, then in this way, they are explaining. They are not giving knowledge. They are not giving the knowledge. They are saying that this is the knowledge. If we are not hearing, then our ears are like the ear holes, snake hole. So you go on telling. Even though the topic may be over, but still go on telling. Like if your whole Bhakti Vaibhav is over, then will you stop hearing? No. You know the subject, but you want to hear more and more. You know the subject. Everyone knows the subject, but still that eagerness to hear is there. So even if you do Bhakti Sarvabhauma, okay, 7th canto onwards, still all 12th canto is done. All the books of Prabhupada is read. Will you say now it's enough? No. Eagerness. Oh, Prabhupada has spoken everything. You have studied everything. Now what else is there? No, start again with Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Shastri. That is how one should have eagerness to hear. And so many verses are spoken by Shaunakadi Rishi. The first time they have spoken so many verses to express that please continue the topic. Don't
just
stop the topic.
Provoke him to go on further.
Yeah. If you don't speak, we will speak. But Harikatha will go on.
It's really nice.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Anyone else?
Mataji, just one more.
Okay.
When they are
One
referring
second.
to
Yes.
snake, Mataji, when they are referring to snake hole, it refers to the holes on his body, or it's referring to the hole in which he lives?
Which lives. Snake hole.
How can
it can be that also. Another way, another is, the ear of the snake, it cannot hear. That is the meaning. It cannot hear. That is why the snake charmer just does like this and see it. We think that they are hearing to the tune of the snake charmer and dancing. No, they are seeing the movement and their pada moves here and there. It is the body actually. Also the hole where the snake lives. You can compare that also. But in real sense, it is the body.
If you are comparing it to that place, then how will it be?
Place, because it's a poison which is going inside. What is there inside? A poisonous animal is there. So what goes inside? The metal talks are like the poisonous thing.
Ah. Yes, Mataji. Very beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji.
तो माता जी फ्रॉग की आवाज वो कैसे सुन सकता है?
फ्रॉग का
सर।
आवाज नहीं सुनता है, फ्रॉग का ठप ठप ऐसे उड़ी मार मार के क्रोक करता है। और स्नेक को मालूम पड़ता है कि कहाँ ऐसे आवाज आता है,
मतलब वाइब्रेशन से, माता जी
वाइब्रेशन।
वाइब्रेशन।
यस, और उनको मालूम है कौन से वाइब्रेशन कितना हद तक है। ह्यूमन का वाइब्रेशन तो भाग जाएगी।
Oh my God. I was under the
Yes.
impression that he was not, like the snake was not using the holes as such, but maybe some other organ was functioning, or hearing organ. But it
उनको
seems
ना
like
that
snake.
they
They just
can
feel
see
the-
they can see na, they can see,
Hmm.
they can see the movements, they can feel the
By vibration.
vibrations. They
Then
can
Mataji,
see the
there are
frog
so
also,
many-
na?
There are
They can
so
see
many
the frog also.
references. There are so many references, na Mataji, wherein it is said that frog invites death in the form of serpent by croaking uselessly. Then croaking means it's
Is
sound.
that only? Croaking is a sound how the snake can hear.
Yes.
Our question is that only, how the snake is able to hear. As I said, it can see, and also that vibrations, the smell. Lord has given everybody one sense.
Oh.
Jivo Jivanam said, what is it? Nice verse it is.
Jivo jivasya jivanam.
जीवो जीवस्य जीवनम।
Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. So its particular ahar, the sixth sense is there for. One sense is there, not sixth sense, you can say one sense has been given. Like the birds, they fly in the sky, but they are able to see a small worm and they come and they pick. How they are able to know that? In this forest, there is a food kept for me. So some sense is there.
Maybe skin is being used to feel.
Yeah,
hear.
some sense is there, some sense is there, by which they're able to know that frog is here.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Okay. Panchakar
हरे कृष्ण
Pradesh.
माता जी। माता जी
Yeah.
एक छोटा सा, माता जी
हाँ,
अगर
बोलो।
चेंज इन हार्ट नहीं होता है तो अपराधों की वजह से माता जी नहीं
Yes.
होता होगा?
अपराधी कारण एक होता है नामाभास, एक होता है नाम अपराध। नेक्स्ट स्टेज है शुद्ध नाम। नामाभास के स्तर पे अपराध नहीं होता है, भास हो रहा है कि नाम, आभास हो रहा है कि नाम ले रहा है। नाम अपराध के स्तर पे नाम तो ले रहा है, साइड बाय साइड अपराध भी कर रहा है। तो शुद्ध नाम को अब तक अनुस्वादन नहीं कर पा रहा है, इसीलिए ध्यान पूर्वक नाम जप करने से नाम अपराध से हम बच सकते हैं और फिर नामाभास से हम शुद्ध नाम में जा सकते हैं। ये नाम अपराध ये बीच का स्तर है। One has to transgress it. ठीक है, ज्ञानदीप प्रभु कुछ प्रश्न है? पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णववृंद की जय। 25th 26th exam, no 26th 27th, right? 26th 27th.
26.
Yes, 26, 27 माता जी।
Mostly the exams will be in the morning hours. Let us see what time we can give.
माता
It
जी
is not in
इवनिंग
the
आवर्स
morning, in the
प्लीज,
evening. No problem, but it will be early
दिस इज द
evenings.
बेस्ट टाइम।
No problem, but not this time. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, it's Saturday, Sunday, no? So it can be 5 o'clock onwards, 5 to 6, 5 to 7. So that 7 o'clock onwards, one can be free for their teaching activities.
Actually, evening time is very ideally suited for the Mataji.
Yeah, but 4 to 6
Like
can be
there.
also there. Let me see.
Sure.
Okay.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। थैंक यू माता जी।